Hi guys, how are you? In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a method in your Tiamo software. In this case, I'm using version 3.0, but this applies to all previous versions. In the method window of your software, you will click on File, New, or just click on the Create New Method icon. In this window, you will be able to choose between a blank method or some pre-existing templates that I suggest to use, because it is easier to configure the titration method. In titration, we have some options according to the application that will be carried out. In this case, we will use the dynamic mode titration, DET U, with the potential measurement that is most often used. Just click the OK button. Here is the skeleton of our method. In the Tiamo software, it is divided into sequences where we have the different tracks. We have a start track and an exit track. In the start track, we only have the titration command here, but we can insert other commands that we will cover in another video. On the exit track will be the calculation, the report, and the database. Let's talk a little bit about the main track. By double-clicking on the Start command, we open the information related to this sequence, where we can enable the statistics saying the number of analyses we are going to do for a given sample. And in the conditioning part, we can leave the conditioning enabled when using, for example, a Carl Fisher method, or some method that requires an initial conditioning. In this case, we are going to do an acid-base titration. It will not be necessary. In application notes, we can write a procedure. We can, for example, tell what the titrant is, what sample, what mass to weigh, if there is any preparation of this sample. So, I can describe the whole procedure here to make it easier for a person who has never had contact with this methodology. In method variables, we have information such as sample amount, unit, the position of this sample, if I am using, for example, an automation. I can have different IDs for the sample. These identifications are important when you need a lot of different information, such as name, lot, expiration, and other information. We were able to enter this information here. It is possible to change this text by double-clicking and entering the information that I deem appropriate for the sample. I can choose to work with a number, with a date. I can ask for it to be checked at the beginning of the analysis, or I can fix this value. I can remove or add the previously removed IDs or options. Finally, just click OK. And now we're going to tackle the most important part, which is the titration part itself. By double-clicking on the DET U button, which is the box responsible for the titration, we have here some tabs, and in the General tab we have information about the equipment. Let's select the device name under Device Name. I have these two equipments that were once connected to my software, and they are the equipment enabled to do this type of titration. If I select another type of titration, other equipment that I have already connected to my equipment may appear. That is, not all equipment can do all the titration modes available by Metronome. In this case, we're going to use equipment 906. In dosing device, as this equipment uses an interchangeable unit, it will be connected to dosing device 1, but I could have other dosing devices connected to the MSB's ports of my equipment. For example, a Decino connected to MSB 2 would then be dosing device 2. In solution, here are available the solutions that have already been registered and configured. I will use sodium hydroxide. In sensor is where I have the measuring device. We have two options, as this equipment has two measurement inputs. We're using measurement input number 1. On sensor, what's the electrode that I'm using? If I've already registered my electrode in the settings, that electrode will appear here in this list. In this case, it's the pH electrode. If it has a temperature sensor, the measurement is automatic, but there are these other options as well. In stirrer, here is the position of the MSB that the stirrer is connected to. In my case, the stirrer is connected to the MSB1. If it was on some other equipment MSB, I would select here. The stirring rate depends a lot on the size of the magnetic bar used and the sample beaker. In this case, I will use a slightly slower rate to have a proper homogenization and not too strong. Switch off automatically is checked, so when you finish titration, the stirrer will turn off automatically. In initial conditions, we'll usually just change the start volume and the pause. Speaking a little bit about the initial volume, if I have a titration that always spends the same volume, for example, 10 milliliters, I can ask my equipment to dose a good part of the volume at once at the beginning of the titration, for example, 8 milliliters. Thus we achieve a reduction in the analysis time, which will allow me to expand the number of samples that I can analyze during the day. The dosing rate here is maximum, and this maximum rate is according to the volume of the burette. The maximum rate is about 3 times the volume of the burette. If I'm using a 20 milliliter burette, the maximum dosage rate is about 60 milliliters per minute. In the case here, I don't know how much I'm going to spend, so I'll leave it off. The pause is related to this initial volume. For example, I added these 8 milliliters and I want that after this dosage there is, for about 30 seconds, a stirring for better homogenization. So I add the pause here. In this case, it will not be necessary. In titration parameters, we have some predefined speed options on the equipment. There are 3 speeds: the slow speed, the optimal speed, and the fast speed. There is a 4th speed called user where I can set up all the parameters related to the titration. We'll look at that at this point. So if the optimal speed is selected, when selecting user, the software will show all the possible parameters to be configured for this titration mode. In this case, DET U. These are the values set for optimal speed. If we switch to slow speed and then user, you'll see that those values are changed to slow speed. Changing to the fast speed and then user again, we will have other values that are the setting for the fast speed. So let's leave it at the optimal speed, and here we will evaluate the information presented. On the measured value acceptance part, we have the signal drift, which here is at 50 millivolts. This signal drift serves to let the titrator know when it can add a new titrant volume increment within the sample. That is, it makes an addition of a titrant volume and it will wait for this deviation signal to be reached. Once the bypass is low of 50 millivolts, it will add a new volume increment. We also have, related to this, the minimum waiting time and the maximum waiting time. The minimum time is basically the time that will be waited if right after dosing the volume increment, the deviation is already less than 50 millivolts. In this case, with the time at 0, it immediately doses a new volume increment. Now, if after dosing the volume increment the deviation is above 50 millivolts, what is the maximum time that the titrator will wait to then dose the new volume increment? This is the maximum time, which here is at 26 seconds. This varies depending on the speed used. In the dosing of increments part, we have the measuring point density, which is a sampling rate that goes from 0 to 9. 0 is for very slow titrations where I have all the points measured by the electrode being used for the construction of my titration curve, and 9 where I have the least amount of points used. At optimal speed, the density is 4. The minimum increment and maximum increment are the volume increments that the titrator will use, or rather, vary the dosage volume between these increments. The minimum increment is dose at the beginning of titration and close to the equivalence point. The maximum increment is the maximum volume that the titrator will dose when it is not close to the equivalence point. Then, at the beginning of the titration, after the minimum increment has been dosed, the titrator increases these increments until it reaches the maximum, which in this case is off, that is, the titrator decides how much volume it wants to dose. Or I can put a value here to simply not cause the titration to end up going past the point, that is, that there is no risk of the titrator dosing a very large volume and I lose my titration. Here in this case we're going to leave disabled even. The dosage rate here is maximum, which is what is the speed at which these increments here are dosed. The temperature here is at 25 degrees Celsius. I can use the temperature sensor and measure the temperature. Next, we have the stop conditions. In the stop conditions, I will inform the equipment how it will do to know that my titration is already over. I can stop the titration by one volume, an absolute volume that once reached the titrator finishes the titration. It is recommended to always use the volume of the burette you are using. In this case, I'm using a 20 milliliter burette. It is important to know the volume spent on titration in order to choose the correct burette volume. For example, in a titration that spends 15 milliliters, it is better to use a 20 milliliters burette than a 10 milliliter burette, because the 10 milliliter burette will have to fill during titration. In addition, and the ideal is to spend between 10 and 90% of the burette volume, thus increasing the accuracy of titration. Stop by measured value. As I don't know the potential that where the end of titration occurs, I'll leave it off. Stop by EP. When I don't know how many EPs my titration can have, we can leave this value at 9, which is the maximum. In this case, I know that titration is only going to find one point of equivalence, so we leave it at 1. Volume after EP. It's important to put a volume here after the EP is found. We're going to use 1 milliliter for the correct formation of the titration curve to occur. Stop for time. As we don't know how long titration takes, so it's off. The filling of the burette can be left at the maximum. Here the same rule applies as the dosage, where the maximum rate is equal to approximately 3 times the volume of the burette. For more viscous titrants, a lower rate can be placed. Potentiometric evaluation. I will define the criterion for the software to identify the equivalence points. I'm using the mode without the window, because I don't know at what potential the equivalence point occurs, so I'm going to use the EP criterion, which is the size of the potential jump that occurred at the equivalence point. In acid-base titrations, they usually have a very considerable potential jump, so we can set a higher criterion. In recognition of EP, we can use all of them, major or last. Usually, these first 3 are the most used. In this case, I want to use the largest EP found. Additional evaluations and additional measured values we're not going to cover in this video. Thus, we come to the end of the titration configuration. Let's move on to the calculation. By double-clicking on the calculation box, Calc, we have the option to create a calculation. Click Next. In the name of the result, we can put whatever name we want. The unit, for example, milligram per liter or mole per liter. Decimal units, we're going to use 3 decimal places for example, and here in assignment we're going to identify the result, so we can use it in another calculation later. So I've already got the assignment here. Then click on the Formula button. We can, for example, use the periodic table of the software. If I'm doing a hydrochloric acid titration, for example, it already shows the molar mass. In the variables, we can navigate by the sample variables, where I have the show mass, show IDs. In command variables, we have the titration command here, which is the DET U, where I'm going to have the titrant information as the factor and the concentration. And here in EPX I have the value of the volume spent at the equivalence point. So, if I have the mass, multiplied by the factor, multiplied by the concentration, multiplied by the volume spent, in this case here. In EPX I need to inform the software which is the equivalence point that I want it to use in the calculation. As I've set up before, we're only going to have one equivalence point, so there's 1. And I can then divide by the sample size. This is just an example of how to set up a calculation. It is not necessarily the correct calculation for this application. If I'm making a sample, I can enable the statistics here. I can monitor the result, for example, informing the limits, if I want any message to be shown to me if it falls outside of this range. In options, I have how to save this result as a common variable, a blank for example. I can also save it as a factor or as a global variable. In the report I have the option to use a report template, where I already have some examples. In another video, we'll cover how to create a report template. We're going to use the example report. We have the option to send the report directly to a printer. We can create a PDF file by selecting a folder on the computer or send this PDF file to an email. In this case, we're going to leave it as a printer. At the end of each analysis, a file will be automatically printed to the configured printer. In the database, I will tell the software which is the database where the titration file will be written. I can create one, or I can just switch here between existing databases. Once all the programming is finished, we can click on the green checkmark to test if the method does not have any errors. The method is tested and ready. We can save the method by clicking on the floppy disk. This is just an example. Now, in Workplace, we select the method in which we create. We see here that statistics is enabled. I can disable statistics even if in the method it is enabled. I put in the information of my sample, the mass, the unit, and I can start my titration. In this video you have learned how to configure the method in the Tiamo 3.0 software. I hope you enjoyed it and see you next time.